Good morning. We only needed one ring today because you all are just so quiet. You all at home can make all the noise you want, and we will never know. Welcome to the Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I'm the Reverend Sara LaWall. It is my great honor to serve this beloved community. And we're so glad that you have joined us this morning, both here in our sanctuary and our virtual community, wherever you are joining us from. Welcome. Let's take a moment to welcome one another, and I'll invite you to turn around to the cameras on the back wall and wave at those folks who are at home, at work, on the greenbelt, in the car. I've listened to worship in the car before, so it's okay. It's actually kind of cool. It's like surround sound. We are a community gathered to nurture spiritual growth, deep connection, and faithful action for a better world. Whoever you are, whoever you love, however you identify, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. Your presence is a blessing. Whether you're with us every Sunday or once or twice a year, or you're joining us this morning for the first time, welcome. I'm grateful to be sharing this worship service today with Gwyn Reid, who is serving as our celebrant, our fabulous musician, Wren Emerson-Paige. Of course, we give thanks to the dynamic duo and Will's spouse, Wren Emerson-Paige, our director of family ministries. And of course, none of the gorgeousness of this new way of worshiping together would be possible without our amazing AV Tech coordinator, Mike Lemieux. In the spirit of our mission to build a beloved community that centers justice, equity, compassion, and interconnection, let us take a moment to acknowledge our gathering upon native land.
As we gather together, we acknowledge that the land upon which our church and homes exist is the ancestral land stolen from the people of the Shoshone-Bannock, the Shoshone-Paiute, Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai, and Nez Perce nations, along with many other tribes whose names have been lost in history. We acknowledge that our presence here today is founded upon the exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples. With this acknowledgement, we wish to demonstrate our ongoing commitment to the work of dismantling the legacies of settler colonialism. We honor indigenous peoples' connection to the land and support their right to sovereignty.
Amen. I want to take a moment to welcome all of the newcomers among us. We know it takes a lot of courage to seek out a new community, and we're so glad that you have chosen us today. For the newcomers who are joining us online, we invite you to introduce yourselves in the chat so that our online community can warmly welcome you. And we'll post a link to our newcomer forum also in the chat so that we can keep you up to date with all that is happening in our fellowship. For the newcomers here in person, you have these handy little QR codes on the bookmarks on your seats, and the old comers too. And you can find our newcomer forum on one of those QR codes. We have a lot that's happening in our fellowship. Much of it still happening virtually, some of it in person. We have book groups and neighborhood pods and meditation circles and adult RE classes. And so we want to keep you updated with all of the ways that you can connect and engage with others in our fellowship. For those newcomers who are interested in learning more about who we are and more about Unitarian Universalism, we invite you to join our newcomer series called Inquirers. It's a series of 5 sessions, and it's on Zoom only. So you'll meet together today on Zoom in your own breakout session. We run these sessions regularly and repeatedly throughout the year, so if you're not able to join today, no worry, you can always pick one back up at a later time. I have a few announcements for the whole of our community. We remind you that we are still requiring reservations for worship or asking you to make a reservation for worship. We don't require them. You can always drop in because we have plenty of space here. So if you've been curious about attending in-person worship, we want to assure you that there's plenty of space, and we do require proof of vaccinations, and you can find links to all of those reservation forms and vaccination forms on our website and by following our QR code in the About Us section. And we invite you to stay after, also on Zoom today, for our congregational conversation for our bylaws revision process. We'll take about a 15-minute break after worship to allow folks from here who wish to go home and myself to be able to transition over into that Zoom space. And we hope that you'll join us for this conversation. We're revising our bylaws, which I know sounds exciting to a handful of you. But I've been so grateful and impressed with the work that this congregation has been doing in imagining how do our bylaws help us further our mission, right? How do we free ourselves and contain ourselves and govern ourselves in such a way that it allows us to be the most free to live out our mission and vision and values in the world? It is our practice here at the Fellowship to donate 25% of our unpledged plate offering to a local organization that aligns with our social justice mission. And in this month of February, we are delighted to have Immigrant Justice Idaho as our plate partner. In their work, they provide free and low-cost immigration legal services and education about immigration law and policy and advocacy. And they are the only free provider and referral service recognized by the Department of Justice. Their work fills a colossal gap in Idaho's immigration legal services available to low-income Idahoans. And we are so grateful for the service and the work that they provide that is so needed in our community, that aligns so beautifully with our commitment to immigration justice. We no longer have a special time in our service for collecting our offering, but we have 47 ways that you can make your gift, including, again, QR code, links on our website at boiseuu.org. Just click Give in the top right corner and go from there. We have lock boxes on the side walls here for you to drop your checks. And of course, we welcome your checks in the mail. Throughout the pandemic, many of you have been continuing to mail your checks in. Many of you have just been sending us wonderful little notes. And I just want to tell you that we have a corkboard in our office where we have saved all of your notes and cards for almost the past 2 years. And it brings us great joy and delight. It lights up our space. It helped us remember that you are there and we are here and we are still connected. So, you know, everybody loves the snail mail. Everybody loves to get mail. So that's a perfectly fine way of showing your support for this fellowship. Today, we continue exploring our monthly spiritual theme of widening the circle with the invitation to draw it wider still, a lyric from the song Draw the Circle Wide that has served as our anthem for this month. Drawing our circle wider and wider until it breaks is as much about justice making and centering voices on the margins as it is about exploring and interrogating our own stories and ways of knowing. Today, we're inviting you into deeper reflection about the stories that you tell that surround your life, and invite you into deeper reflection about your own inner knowing. What does your mind, body, and spirit have to tell you about widening the circle? We're inviting your creative spirit to show up today, reflecting upon the themes of land, ancestors, community, and need. And during each reflection time, you'll be invited to write, draw, collage, paint for those of you at home, and especially for our artists out there. And if your creative mind prefers a more meditative approach, that's okay too. So if you're at home, gather up some paper and supplies, some colored pencils, pens, crayons, paints, whatever you got, glue. If you're here with us in person, get those art supplies ready near you. You have made your own art supplies, and Jem will, if you'll go around with the basket, just catch anybody that maybe doesn't. I think everybody's got one. Okay, good. So you have your paper here, but if you brought paper with you, you can use that. You have your little bag of art supplies. If you need any more, they are in the back corner over there, and you are welcome to get up at any time and go fish around back there for anything that you might need. So, we'll be using those together later in the service in this creative endeavor together that invites us into reflection about our stories and our ways of knowing. And as we enter into this time of worship together, let us take a moment to center ourselves with the breath. I invite you to breathe with me. Fill your body with breath. The breath that is our source of life. The breath that invites a spaciousness. A settling. The breath that is connected to all living things, to all that is sacred. Breathe, knowing your breath invites you to widen your circle inside your heart.
At this hour, in small towns and big cities, in living rooms and sanctuaries, many of our sibling Unitarian Universalists are also lighting flaming chalices, reminding us that we are part of a great community of faith. As a community, we light the chalice here in the sanctuary, the symbol of our free faith, beacon of hope, love, and justice. For our virtual community, if you have a chalice nearby, you're invited to light it with us. Then share in the chat where you are worshiping this morning. With our collective chalices lit in all our worship spaces, we offer you this call to worship from poet Rosemary Watrola Tromer. This is her poem titled Urgency. Again, the urge to bring gauze to the broken world, and medicine, and a plaster cast. Again, the urge to fix things, to heal them, to make them right. Again, the chance to do the work, which is to look in, to touch the pain, but not become it. To see the world exactly as it is, and still write it a love letter. To meet what is cracked with clarity, to mirror and grow whatever beauty we find. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, everyone. Let's get extra cozy for a time for all ages. Today we're jumping right into our story, Milo Imagines the World, by Matt de la Peña and illustrator Christian Robinson. Here we see our protagonist in his bright green beanie heading down into the subway. What begins as a slow, distant glow grows and grows into a tired train that clatters down the tracks. A cool rush of wind quiets into a screech of steel, and when the doors slide open, Milo slips aboard. The train bucks back into motion as he and his sister squeeze onto bench seats. The whiskered man beside Milo has a face of concentration. A businessman has a blank, lonely face. The wedding-dressed woman near the far door has a face made out of light, while the little dog peeking out of her handbag has no face at all, just a long, lolling tongue. I wonder if you've ever looked around at the face of the folks who are surrounding you, all the strangers you see. These monthly Sunday subway rides are never ending, and as usual, Milo is a shook-up soda. Excitement stacked on top of worry, on top of confusion, on top of love. To keep himself from bursting, he studies the faces around him and makes pictures of their lives. At a downtown stop, the whiskered man folds up his crossword and hurries off the train. Milo imagines him trudging through brown mounds of slush. It's a 5-flight climb to his cluttered apartment, where he's greeted by mewling cats, and burrowing rats. Parakeets tweet songs of longing as the man sips tepid soup, hunched over a game of solitaire. Late that night, the door to the parakeet cage mysteriously falls open, and the cats gather on the cold sill to watch the birds fly free above the city. He's imagining a very lonely, solitary life for this man. Milo tugs his sister's sleeve and holds up his picture, but even when she turns to look, he can tell she doesn't see. She's a shook-up soda, too. I wonder if you've ever felt like that, like a shook-up soda. A boy in a suit boards the train with his dad. His hair is a perfect part, and there's not a single scuff on his white, bright Nikes. Milo imagines the clop, clop, clop of the horse-drawn carriage that will carry him to his castle. Imagines the clink, clink, clink of the guards slowly lowering the drawbridge. Across the human-made float, the boy is met by a butler, 2 maids, and a gourmet chef offering crust-free sandwich squares. What a fancy life. I wonder if there's actually a castle like that in New York. Milo flips to a fresh page at a bustling midtown stop. When the wedding-dressed woman strides off the train, a band of street performers launches into "Here Comes the Bride," and everyone on the platform stops and cheers. There she is holding her bouquet, her dog in her bag. Milo imagines the grand cathedral ceremony where the couple will be pronounced husband and wife. Imagines the groom whisking his new bride to an awaiting hot air balloon where the pilot loads them in with blankets and blasts the heat. And up, up they go, hand in hand, beyond the concrete walls of the city, into the infinite blue. He's imagining a very happy ending for this husband and wife. A happily ever after, I should say. Milo holds this picture too, but his sister shoos him away. "Can't you see I'm playing my game?" He watches her thumbs bang around her smudged screen, and then turns back to the boy in the suit. And they lock eyes for a few long seconds, and suddenly it feels like the walls are closing in around Milo. I don't think he meant to make eye contact. I wonder if he feels awkward here. The spell is broken when a crew of breakers bounds onto the train, announcing, "You all ready for a show?" Several curious faces look up as the beat drops, and now the girls are walking up walls. They're whirling around poles. They're backflipping over shopping bags. When the train pulls onto the next stop, they collect a few dollars and scramble for another car. Those sound like some amazing moves. Milo imagines them going from train to train, doing their act as everyone watches. But even after the performances are over, faces still follow their every move. When they walk down the electronics aisle at the department store, when they cross on into the fancy neighborhood, Milo doesn't really like this picture, so he puts away his pad and turns to his reflection in the window. It looks like here they're being met with some anger, probably some unwelcoming words. What do people imagine about his face? Can they see him reciting his volcano poem to the class? Can they hear his mom's soothing voice reading him a bedtime book over the phone? Can they smell the Chile Colorado bubbling in a pot in his auntie's apartment near the cemetery? He's wondering how much they can see his real life when they look at his face. And I wonder how much he sees the people's real lives based off what he sees in their faces, if he's imagining their lives accurately. Butterflies flood Milo's stomach when it's finally their stop. He follows his sister onto the cold platform station and up the stairs. Above ground, he's surprised to see the boy in the suit a few paces ahead. Wonder where they're going. If they're going to the same place. He's even more surprised when the boy joins the long line to pass through the metal detector. Milo's sister suddenly bends to give him a hug. "I didn't mean to snap at you," she says. She takes his hand, adding, "You have your picture ready?" He nods, feeling the warmth of her fingers. As they slowly shuffle forward, Milo studies the boy in the suit, his dad rubbing his thin shoulders. And a thought occurs to him. Maybe you can't really know anyone just by looking at their face. Milo tries to reimagine all the pictures he made on the train. Maybe he could have done it like this instead. The whiskered man playing a crossword goes home to a table full of his family, laughing and smiling and enjoying dinner together. Or maybe the bride in the wedding dress marries the love of her life, a woman. And they are wife and wife. Maybe those girls, those dancers, go into the neighborhood and are met with welcome and kind words. Milo's chest fills with excitement when he spots his mom through the crowd. His sister rushes to give her a hug before pulling Milo in too, and it's in this tight tangle of familiar arms that he feels most alive. It looks like we are in a prison or a jail visiting center, with the people who are incarcerated wearing orange and the guards wearing gray with heavy tool belts. When they separate, Milo flips through his pad until he finds the right picture. "I made this for you," he says, holding it up, and he watches for the smile he hopes will spread across his mom's face. A picture of him, his sister, and his mom all enjoying ice cream on a warm, sunny day on their stoop outside their home. I'm going to end this story today by reading the dedication that our author and illustrator wrote. This book is for those who dare to imagine beyond a first impression, and for the children and inner children who see themselves in this book. I invite you to join me now in blessing our beloved community with song as we bless this multi-generational community where together we learn, we grow, and we live out our values. Thank you.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Yes, it was a great story. And in a moment, you're going to get an opportunity to use your creative imagination like Milo and capture your stories. Stories permeate our lives. They are our primary mode of communication. They anchor us to the past and present and imagine futures beyond our current reality. Good, bad, utopian, dystopian, fantastical, romantic, and everything in between. And we use stories to express both our knowing and our unknowing, our imagination, much like Milo, to give shape to our lives. Our stories are full of deep truths, but also half-truths and make-believe and wild, crazy nonsense. Stories can help us understand ourselves and others better, just like they did for Milo. They can also become barriers between us. The mortar in the walls we build around truth and lived experience and freedom. But stories can liberate us. Long before alphabets and writing, humans told stories. Pictures on stones were the stories of a community. Stories hold the creative wisdom of the world. They become theology and spirituality and the building blocks for generations. So today we get to explore some of our own stories, true and half-true and imagined, and what has shaped us. And this service invites your reflective, creative, explorer self to be fully present. I experienced the form and structure of this worship service a few weeks ago during the UU Ministers Conference. The worship service was led by Claudio Carvalhaes, an associate professor of worship at Union Theological Seminary. And let me tell you, Claudio's energy and passion just reached through the screen and grabbed my heart. And I know the heart of many of my colleagues too. I'm hoping I can conjure up some of Claudio's energy and passion. He had more than I did, I promise. Claudio focuses on liturgies for liberation, and his recent project is called Reimagining Worship as Acts of Defiance and Alternatives in the Context of Empire. I'm ready to dig into that project. He credited his inspiration to ecofeminist philosopher Donna Haraway, whose own work, Storytelling for Earthly Survival, has permeated his own thinking. So they are the creative forces and inspiration behind today's service. For each of our 4 themes, you are invited to sink into reflective, creative space, to write, draw, doodle, whatever comes to mind, and notice what stories are emerging, what stories remain untold or on the margins. Let yourself get creative. Let the deep to the deep in you calling come to the surface. Don't censor your thoughts. Go with your own flow. Go deep, interrogate, and explore your stories. So we'll use our story cards, and we begin with the land. The land surrounds us every moment, from birth to death. The land holds us up. It is literally the ground beneath our feet. Some would say the ground of being. But we often forget the influence of land in our lives, in our theologies, in our spirituality, unless we're directly communing with nature. One of the things I've noticed lately, especially during this pandemic time in these last 2 years, is that this land, right here in Boise and across our state, is, as I have told people, the most stunningly beautiful place I have ever lived. Snow-covered, sun-drenched, every season offers up beauty beyond my imagining, and I regularly find myself gasping, even in the car, as I'm driving home late at night down Marigold and can see the full moon rising over the foothills. I only have to drive an hour or less to get lost in nature, lost in the land. And I'm only just now appreciating how that has blessed my spirit, how the land has comforted me in my most weary, despairing moments and demanded contemplation from me with its picturesque horizons and intensity, and offered me beauty when I swore I could find none. This land gives us beauty and disaster, The land is as desperate as we are for love and connection. How has the land shaped you? The land of your birth, the land of your current home, the land right outside your window, the land of the indigenous tribes on which we now reside. How does the land speak to you? How does it shape your beliefs, your spirit, your body? What does it ask of you? What do you need from it? As we hear this first piece of music, many of you are already going with your reflections. I invite you to get out those colored pencils, pens, crayons, and let your stories come alive.
Ancient mother, I hear you calling. Ancient mother, I hear your song. Ancient mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient mother, I taste your tears.
If you're not done yet. But we're going to move on to ancestors, which is our next in our story circle. So here is your story circle, which when I made them, it occurred to me, At some point, they'll unwind, and they look a lot like prayer flags. So you'll get to take some prayer flags home, and you at home can find some twine and make your own story circles. Our ancestors, that great cloud of witnesses that surround us, those who made us and those who loved us into being, those whose blood runs in our veins, and those chosen by us, mentors, healers, leaders, justice makers, comforters, those whose words and music and art and very lives have infused our souls. Those known by many and those known only by a beloved few. They are with us. Only recently did I come to the simple yet profound realization that my ancestors are not only my blood relatives going back generations, but the circle is much, much wider than that. They are all the lives who have touched mine in small ways and large ways, regardless of relation. In all the identities I inhabit, they are the ones I count among my people. And while I claim many powerful ancestors, their stories are not perfect, nor are the ones to which I am related. They are complicated. Some of them are difficult to comprehend. They have not always made good choices. They have caused harm. Yet through their stories, my own circle is widened, my heart is expanded, my call clarified. As author Toba Betta writes, you are the fairy tale told by your ancestors. Who do you count among your people? Who are the ancestors that inhabit your story, your circle, the ones you claim and the ones you inherited? What stories and learning bring into your life, do your ancestors bring into your life? How do they fuel your being? What are your roots and your branches? Who are your great cloud of witnesses? You're invited to draw, create, and reflect through this next piece of music.
She came in on the red-eye to Dallas-Fort Worth, all the way from sunny Taipei. Skin the color of a walnut shell and a baseball cap holding down her black hair. And she came here after midnight. The hot weather made her feel right at home. Come on in. We haven't slept for weeks. Drink some of this. It'll put color in your cheeks. He drove in from Mexicali, no worse for wear, money to burn, time to kill, but 5 minutes looking in his eyes, and we all knew he was broken pretty bad. So we gave him what we had. We cleared a space for him to sleep in, and we let the silence that's our trademark make its presence felt. Come on in. We haven't slept for weeks. Drink some of this. It'll put color in your cheeks. They came in by the dozens, walking or crawling. Some were bright-eyed, some were dead on their feet. But they came from Zimbabwe or from Soviet Georgia, East St. Louis, or from Paris, or they lived across the street. But they came, and when they finally made it here, it was the least that we could do to make our welcome clear. Come on in. We haven't slept for weeks. Drink some of this. This'll put color in your cheeks. Now come on in. We haven't slept for weeks. Drink some of this. It'll put color in your cheeks.
Thanks, Will. I enjoy the creative invitation to groove and move your body while we're also reflecting there. I couldn't stop moving. We turn next to community. Perhaps you can kind of feel the build here, from land to ancestors to community. Community is the reason we exist. It's a bold statement. Community is what shapes our individual lives and stretches us beyond that interconnected web of which we are a part. We are a part of this fellowship and this Unitarian Universalist tradition, and we remain a part of that because of community. We are a part of this fellowship and this Unitarian Universalist tradition, and we remain a part of that because it invites us to draw our circle wider still, beyond our walls, to be part of and support the community that surrounds us, even when it feels so hard, and even when it makes me so angry. We are also here to nurture those communities that need nurturing. Those communities who need more love, radical welcome, who need loud voices amplifying theirs, and quiet prayers and arms and hearts of comfort and nourishment and fortification for the road ahead. As Unitarian Universalists, we understand our faith as a communal one, rooted in covenant, in our commitments to each other and to the world. Our theology, many say, must be shaped and practiced and co-created in community. So let's get that community story page out and conjure your community. Which communities impact your life? Consider the question, whose are we? Who is at the center? Who is at the margins? What communities call to you and call to us?
Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide.
your sadness and in your grief. With all the pain, seems there's no relief. So Spirit, teach us how to love without compromise. As we draw the circle wide. Draw it wider, and let this be our song. You see that no one, as we're standing side by side, draw the circle wide. And draw the circle wide, and draw it wider, and let this be our song. You see that no one, as we're standing side by side, draw the circle wide, draw the circle, draw the circle. Come on, choir, draw the circle wide. Draw the Let this be our song. You see that no one, as we're standing side by side, draw the circle wide, draw the circle, draw the circle, and draw the circle wide, and draw it wider, and let this be our song. You see that no one stands alone, as we're standing side by side. Draw the circle wide, draw the circle, draw the circle. As we draw the circle, draw the circle.
Amen. Hallelujah to that. How are your story circles coming? This is so exciting. I want you to hang them in your window. I drew on the wrong side. They're not going to line up. But that's okay. That's creativity. We're turning to need now. Thinking about the stories and the images and the words and phrases and reflections that have unfolded in front of you, and the depth of wisdom and knowing they hold for you, let's consider need. What needs are calling to you as you think about this land, about our ancestors and community, as you think about this moment in its unfolding? Sometimes the needs of the world, even the needs of our own families, can feel infinite and overwhelming. Capture those that weigh on your heart. But don't forget yourself. What do you need in this moment? What needs arise for you as you consider the land and your ancestors and your communities? What are those deep spiritual longings we can notice and name, that we can meet our needs? Sometimes the need is a calling into practice or a calling into right relationship. What needs are arising for you in this moment? Take some time to invite that story to come forth.
Tonight I am feeling for you under the state of a strange land. You have sacrificed much to be here. Therefore the graces I offer my hand. Welcome home. I bid you welcome. I bid you welcome. Welcome home. From the bottom of my heart. And out here on the edge, the empire is fading by the day, and the world is so weary and worn. Maybe we'll find that new way. So welcome home. See, I've made a space for you now. Welcome home. From the bottom of our hearts, welcome home. From the bottom of our hearts. Keep it coming now, keep on coming now. You'll find most of us here with our hearts wide open. Keep on coming now, keep on coming now, keep on coming now, keep it coming now. There's a woman with her hands trembling, Amen. And she sings with the mountain's memory, Amen. There's a cloud the full length of these aisles, just playing chase with the sun. And it's black and it's white and it's wild, all the colors are one. So welcome home. I bid you welcome, I bid you welcome, welcome home. See, I've made a space for you now. Welcome home. From the bottom of our hearts. From the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you. Will began singing, and what appeared on my need card was more music. I mean, it's still really kind of radical that we have live music again, and in the space with us, and even as Will provided beautiful music for us in video form and on Zoom, to hear your voice in this space again is really magical. Thank you. So take a look at your story circles in whatever form they happened for you over there at home. Just kind of hold them up in front of you or lay them out in front of you and scan through and take a moment to absorb all that you captured, all that you imagined, all that you wanted to dig into and recognize that in this space and all that we've expressed here, it takes some work and emotional labor in this expression, that there is an invitation to blessing that is calling to us. A blessing for this community, a blessing for our own lives, a blessing for the world. And I want to invite you into this moment of community blessing and to just start calling out into the space, calling out even into your own space at home or writing in the chat. What are the blessings that you want to send forth? What are the blessings that you need for yourself? And just don't be shy. You have masks on so no one will know it's you. Okay? You can just call the things out. What are the blessings? And I want to try to connect with our Zoom family here and see and share some of the blessings that are calling us forth. So just get into your blessing mode. Just start letting them go. What blessing do you need? What blessing do you want to offer? More love, more connection, change, community, light and love and hope and charity, belonging, health, sunshine, more will, or more will. You could interpret that any number of ways. Blessing for peace in the world, spaciousness, quiet. Maybe you've had too much quiet. Maybe the blessing you want to offer is a little more cacophonous, a little more people and community, joy, nourishment. Keep going. Come on, you have more in there. I know. There we go. Just yes, you good. Yes, yes, good Zoom people. Come on, keep it going. There's more than that, I know. Dancing, playing, deep connect, singing. God, someday we'll sing again. But we can all sing when we're alone on the greenbelt or in the shower. A blessing for more creativity in our spaces. For love and love and love, for rest and tenderness and understanding, color, just being together. Trees, kindness, grace, connection. Flowers, the sound of the wind and the hum and the insects, the fragrance of the sun-warmed berries and plants, community and belonging, reflection, places to express nature, love, light, singing, friends, laughing. The Zoom community went crazy. I am not going to get through it all. Kindness. And it goes on and on. So hear those, feel those. You created those. Gather them up and hold them. And friends, I invite you to put your hands over your heart for this closing blessing. And if you're here with us in the space, I invite you to rise as you are able and take a moment to look around at one another. Friends at home, look around you. Look out your windows. Look at the people or the furry creatures with you, or look at your own hands. Receive the blessings this community just shared. For the land, with its hidden histories and magnificent beauty, may we continue to learn from it and protect it. This sacred ground that holds us up. For the ancestors that surround us, that have made us who we are, may we bring forth the best of their legacies, carrying their stories forward to the next generations. For community, the symbiosis of relationship, care, connection within, among, and beyond our walls, for knowing we are not alone. For all the needs that arise, calling for our hearts, and for the ones we sweep aside, may we soften into our greatest wells of compassion, finding our way through mending the broken places the best we can, to meet what is cracked with clarity, to mirror and grow whatever beauty we find. And then, may we share our blessings freely, wildly, boldly, blessing this world and blessing ourselves. Blessed are we all. Go in peace.